Hello everyone. Well, it is Canada Day weekend. Canada Day, just think of it for you Americans, kind of like 4th of July. Happens on July 1st instead of July 4th. Yes, Canada Day weekend. We get a 3-day weekend celebrating the beautiful country of Canada. I made no plans for this weekend. I didn't reserve anything. And when I looked online at the BC Parks recreation, reservation system, oh yeah, everything is booked. Of course, this is like the big 3-day weekend of the year to go camping. Anyone who's going camping is going camping this weekend. So instead, I talked to my awesome boss, who said, of course, just take Friday off and head on out. And I'm going to go find some place to stay. I don't have any specific locations. I am going to be going to one lake that I'm going to start with. This is up north of Vancouver, about 3 hours away from where I live, maybe about 4 hours from Vancouver. I have a coworker who's staying near the spot. So if I do end up there, I'll probably reach out to him. We might go four-wheeling together. I might be able to just find some cool spot to pull off, some sort of crown land, open space zone where I can just park and chill, preferably near a creek. That's really my hopes, is that I'm going to be near some water this week. But I'm going out. Now, today, I have with me just Lizzie. I don't have my wife, Joanna, or Linus. She's having some health issues. It's something I don't talk about much on this channel, although I will be talking about it more on my Patreon. It's a little more private, something I'm not going to blast it on YouTube. But for the folks who are going to be subscribing and supporting me, I'm going to be a little more candid. You got to make the best of things. So, here we go. Heading out. I got Lizzie. Lizzie Lou, come here. Lizzie, my co-pilot. She's ready to party. She's ready to chase the ball in some water. She's ready to go to the dog parks. She's ready to see doggies. She's ready to chase animals when she shouldn't chase animals, but she'll find something. She's big on looking for mice and stuff. So what I'm going to do first here, I'm driving out from the house. I'm going to go pick up my RV in storage, which is very close to Woody's RV. I'm going to pop over to Woody's RV, pick up a couple of supplies, see if I can hit him up for some water. I'd love to fill my tanks while I'm there. And then I can head out and not worry about water. I'm going to be going a little light on water. I grabbed some extra paper plates and paper cups, so I don't have to do so much dishes while I'm alone. And that's a great consumption of water, unfortunately, is doing dishes. So I'm going to trade in a few environmental points so I can save water. And that's the way it is. So why don't you come along for the ride with me, and let's head on out. Guess where I'm at? That's right, I had to stop at Woody's just to pick up a fresh water hose, basically, and a fresh water filter. And I'm actually getting an extra 10-foot sewer extension because my sewer extension fell out in the freeway. Now, one thing that does suck is, even though I just got here to Woody's and then I'll go get my RV, I left my barbecue at home. So now I gotta drive all the way back home. I'm gonna lose like 2 hours on this trip, and it's gonna be that much harder to find a camping spot now. Oh well, I need my barbecue and I got a lot of food. All right, everyone. Well, I just got my RV. Unfortunately, I guess the inverter got turned on when it was in the shop. So the my refrigerator experiment, where I could leave the fridge on just off a solar panel, sort of failed out because somehow, I don't know how, the inverter got turned on when it was being serviced. It just doesn't make sense to me. But it's not the end of the world. I just got a little bit of mold, in the fridge there. So I got out the water and the cleaner, cleaned out the fridge, loaded it up, checked all the air in the tires, made sure to kind of do an visual inspection of the tires. And then I pulled out. Now I'm driving all the way back home, which really sucks. It's now 10:30 in the morning. I woke up with the intention of leaving the storage unit at 8 a.m. so I could get out to the first come, first serve parks. But things come up. I had to deal with an issue with the hitch where I had to kind of tighten up some bolts. I needed to do the air, I needed to clean the fridge, and now I have to go get my barbecue that I forgot. So what does this teach me? I should have a checklist. I know most RVers do have a checklist. I've gotten pretty brazen over my 18 years, feeling like I've got it down, but clearly I don't, because I forgot the barbecue, and I brought all this meat pre-seasoned. I've got chicken, ribs, sausages, everything for the weekend for lunch and dinner, and it all requires that I can cook. And there's a fire ban right now, so it's not like I could have done a workaround by just cooking it on an open pit. So, you know, that's life. I've got to turn around and go get my barbecue. This puts me about probably 3 hours behind where I intended to be at this point. That's okay. I mean, let's face it, you know, I'm on vacation. And not only that, but this is the most relaxing tow I've done on this trailer. It's dead quiet. Pulling out of the parking lot, driving through the town streets, just silence, no more squeak. So part of me is just happy to drive around with the trailer just because it's so quiet and relaxing and smooth. And now with the new 800 pound distribution bars, you know, it sits really nice, it takes all the intersections well. This is one nice rig. So I'm still optimistic I'm going to find a space somewhere. I want to prove that just because you don't have reservations on a big holiday weekend doesn't mean you can't grab your RV and go out and have a good time. I mean, that's the whole reason we got an RV, right? Is what we tell our friends is, yeah, I can stop anywhere. Just stop anywhere. Hop in the bed, use the bathroom, stay for the night. And then we all know the reality is there's all kinds of restrictions everywhere we go on where we can park. But here in British Columbia, there are far less restrictions than almost any place I've been, except for maybe the U.S. Southwest desert areas where you can get away with anything you want. All right, well, I'm almost home, so let me go grab the barbecue. The plus side, too, is I can fill up my RV now with my water from my house, which is, you know, good, clean, quality water that I feel confident in. So while I'm stopped here, I'm going to top off the tank, probably put somewhere around maybe, you know, between 1/3 and 2/3 in. That's about it. See you guys later. I am just outside of Hope, BC. We are about, 45 miles away or so from, maybe between 35 and 45 miles away. There's a few different campsites along the way. So, you know, 45 minutes basically is what I'm looking at. It's definitely starting to get more traffic, more people. Let me focus on pulling out safely here. 1 second. All right. So yeah, I've been trying to keep up some good time. I stopped to get some Gatorade Zero. Other than that, I'm going to keep rolling. I'm going to keep trying until I find the first good campsite that's hopefully near water. You know, as long as I find some place that's good enough, and good enough's good enough. I'm not going to be super picky. I mean, I'm coming out here on one of the busiest 3-day weekends of the year at the height of summer with no reservations. I should settle for whatever space I can get as long as it's reasonable. We'll see. Lizzie and I just did a bio break, I guess you'd say, and we're back on the road. Where's Lizzie? Where's Lizzie? Get over here, sweetie pie. There she is. Should probably get gas soon, down to a half tank, but along this part of the road, there's gas all over the place. You may have seen me filming trains before, and the funny thing about British Columbia that I learned in my first, year or two of being here, is wherever you're going to go outside, you're going to basically hear trains. All of this infrastructure in British Columbia is often built around resource extraction, whether it's forestry, mining, trains, transmission lines. Most of many of the roads like I'm on right now are really built as dual purpose. They're forest service roads, right? They offer a service. Oh, hold on for a minute here. Uh-oh. Well, I guess I should have paid attention to that no trespassing private property sign I thought I read that you have to drive through private property to get to these campsites. Yeah, I passed the sign thinking, okay, you just don't stop and you stay on the road. Then about, I don't know, a quarter mile ahead of me, there's just a car and a house, and a car is blocking the road, like very obviously road blocking. So now I have to back up some mile or so through the woods. See, you got off filter there. This is when I'm really glad to have a backup camera. So yep, now I'm gonna have to back up forever until I can get out of here to the intersection back there. And this is why I recommend everyone have a backup camera, especially if you're RVing alone. If I didn't have the camera, I wouldn't even have gone past that sign. But I know that I can back up long distance. I've been stuck in the desert before, having to back up a couple of miles. It's not difficult, it's just you gotta go slow, and it takes a while. So lesson learned, man. Do a little more research. Let's see if I can still try to find the campsites. Yeah, so I probably shouldn't have gone that way. I probably should have just followed the fire service road, which is labeled. Well, let's keep finding out. Let's find out. I'm gonna keep going straight. Get your ball. Get your ball. Come on. Settled in. It's time to make dinner. Tonight's gonna be some chicken thighs. I kind of cheated and just did a barbecue sauce. I got some pinto beans here heating up, and I'm gonna make a little salad when I get inside. That's gonna be dinner. Plus I'll have a couple of thighs to snack on tomorrow. That's some of the skin that came off, so kind of made that as a little side treat. And yeah, just watching the sun go down over the water. Lizzie's playing with her ball. There's a kayaking group that's kind of hanging out here. One dude to my right, and then the rest of them are down there, which is nice because the fact that they're over there in that campsite means that they're not hanging out over here, and it's nice and quiet. And I can run my generator if I need to, so, yep. And what we have here is just a simple salad with some avocado, lettuce, tomato, some green onion, and then some, you know, a few condiments on there, some nice olive oil and balsamic. And gotta make sure you eat your veggies now. And that's the final product. And we got some beans. To hear. The whole has been recorded the whole time.
Professional.
we are. We're finally at the falls. After all that craziness. Look at that. So here we are, I'm at Grizzly Falls here in British Columbia. It's not easy to get to, so you better have a four-wheel drive car or a truck, better yet. My truck just barely made it. I had to gauge the lockers to get out of a few spots. So it's definitely sort of like the upper limits of what I like to do. But I had a good friend of mine with me, Sia, and his wife. So we had a, when you have someone with you, it's a little easier to do it. So here we are. Was it worth it? Yeah, it was worth it. I got a few stripes on the truck now, but that's why I got an off-road truck, was to get it dirty. Oh no, I scratched the truck. Nope, it's just dirt. It's just scratches in the dirt. Tonight's gonna be barbecued ribs, as slow roast as I can do on this grill. Some corn for today and leftovers for tomorrow, and some more of those pinto beans. That was fun yesterday. Went to Grizzly Falls out here. I gotta forget how to pronounce it. Nahatlatch Park, I think it is. Nahatlatch. I'm always terrible at this part, right? I never can pronounce any of the names where I'm visiting. But I was out there at the campsite. A friend of mine from work came out. Sia and his wife met up with me at my campsite. They're out here camping as well, and we started driving down to Grizzly Falls. I actually thought it was going to be like a 31-kilometer drive on a dirt road. Turned out to be a little bit of an off-roading adventure. Had some washed out areas and water bars to get across. Definitely scraped the bottom a little bit, but that's why I got a truck with skid plates, right? The falls was beautiful. The lake was beautiful. The drive was beautiful. It was a lot of fun. So I want to thank Sia and his wife for inviting me to come with them out there. I probably wouldn't have gone the whole way if I was alone, because I was off-roading with a partner, right? Then I was able to feel a little more comfortable about going forth, and if I had a problem, I knew I had someone to help me. Normally, if you see in my videos, I'm out there alone in the middle of nowhere, just going on my own, so it's always a little sketchier. We're right outside the town of Boston Bar. It's just a small community here off Highway 1, north of Hope, BC. a couple hours north maybe of Hope, BC. It's about 4 hours outside of Vancouver. Where I'm at is basically a big rail depot area. Like I keep saying, everything here is built around rail. There's a bunkhouse here where there's like a big complex where all the folks who work on the train live, and the trains keep stopping right at the intersections and just parking, and people keep getting out and changing shifts. So it's interesting to see that little part of the old train world. Now I'm going to go down to the old Alexandra Bridge. I saw this when I was coming up. Of course, I didn't want to stop when I was going to my campsite because it was Friday on a 3-day weekend, and I needed to find a spot as soon as possible. But now I've got some time. I'm going to backtrack here a couple of 20 kilometers or so. There's a provincial park right adjacent to it. I don't know how steep the hike is. I imagine it can't be too bad. So Lizzie and I can go for a little walk. Of course, I can't shoot the drone in the provincial park, but on the other side of the bridge, the old bridge that you can walk across, it looks like, the other side of the bridge doesn't look like it's part of the provincial park system. So I should be able to cross the bridge and then maybe just shoot from that side, trying to stay, within the lines here. Then I might go north. I want to check out a couple more communities going north. You can check out Boston Bar here. It's a great little town to stop at. Some decent little diners. There's a great kind of public square area where you can see this ferry that they used to use to ferry cars and wagons across the river hanging by a skyline. And even have pictures of like horses and carriages, as well as like big fuel trucks, all getting on this thing and going across the water. It's crazy. Of course, now there's a bridge, which I went and drove across a few times, shot a little footage of. You can see right here. But Boston Bar, nice little town. It's mostly a town you drive through and maybe stop off at. But there are some RV sites, some campsites. Of course, it's a gateway to the provincial park that I'm staying near, which has got this big lake and river going through it. Another cool thing about where I'm staying is it turns out it's a kayak zone. So when I pulled in, immediately a kayaker who was staying in the spot next to me, camping, who actually unfortunately hit his head a few times kayaking on the first day. So he was taking a break and ended up leaving the next day. But he was explaining to me that this is one of the big kayak put in and take out spots. It's a very large eddy. So there's all these people camping right there next to the eddy. And it's sort of ground zero where everyone hangs out. And it's been interesting to see. It's been hard to get footage of. I only got a footage of a couple of them. It's like trying to get film of a shooting star. It's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's a kayaker, and they're gone. And it's kind of hard to get the drone ready that quick. So let's go check out the old Alexandra Bridge. And under no circumstances is Lizzie crossing this bridge because the holes are just too big for her little paws. So this is the old Alexandra Bridge. Obviously no one's allowed on it with vehicles anymore, but you can hike down to it. It's a beautiful view of the gorge. You can see the new bridge that they've built just down the way for the freeway. The old Alexandra Bridge in BC was built in 1926, and it used to connect Vancouver with the interior of British Columbia. Once a vital part of transportation, it now stands abandoned, serving as this captivating relic and this symbol of engineering excellence. Nature has reclaimed the bridge, offering a unique opportunity for reflection, exploration. It attracts lots of different visitors who want to connect with the past and appreciate the pioneering spirit of those who once crossed the span. You get that sense across all of BC. A lot of history here. And lots of families walking around. I got Lizzie off leash on this side because this side is not the provincial park. That side is the provincial park. It also means I can fly my drone on this side, but I can't fly it on that side. So I'm sticking to the rules. Anyway, it's a beautiful spot. I'm glad I walked down here. Now I gotta walk uphill back to my car. The Cisco Bridges here in British Columbia. These are some iconic railroad bridges that traverse the Fraser River Canyon. They were built in the early 20th century. These engineering marvels played a crucial role in connecting communities and facilitating transportation. These bridges were known for their impressive height and stunning views, and they continue to serve an important transportation link while offering a glimpse into the region's history and natural beauty. Last time I was up at this part of British Columbia was 2 years ago. It was Canada Day weekend. Coincidentally, adjacent to Canada Day weekend was our court date, or our day to go in and swear in front of a judge that, our citizenship, make our citizenship pledge. We had been granted citizenship and we just needed to do the pledge. Because it was, still the times of everyone doing everything remotely, we actually did our oath over a Zoom session. Not only did we do it over a Zoom session, but we did it in a campground in Canada, because I just looked to make sure we had cell coverage, and I was able to do the Zoom call from a campground in our RV. We became citizens. We thought it was kind of funny to be doing it from there, and it was Canada Day weekend coming up, so nice cherry on top for becoming citizens. It was a really hot day, though. It was a hot week. What they call the heat dome had kicked in, and we had record high temperatures. It was hotter here than it was in Vegas. We started seeing forest fires all over the place during that time. My wife and I went out for a drive because the RV was effectively so hot that the only way we could really get some respite was to get in the truck and go for a long drive. So we said, let's go for a long drive out to Spence's Bridge, out towards Lytton. We headed up this highway, nice winding, beautiful highway. As we drove down this road, getting closer to Highway 1, which is the highway I'm on right now, we started seeing smoke in the distance. And the smoke started getting thicker, and it was closer than we were comfortable with. Like, this isn't just a remote fire far away. We're driving towards a forest fire that looks pretty large. As the sky started to get more and more encased in smoke, we realized, okay, we need to turn around and go back to where our campground. This isn't a good idea. And we turned around and we started driving back, and I decided to stop off at a gas station. I had to get propane filled, and we had to stop off at a gas station, get some treats. And while I'm in that gas station, coming from the direction that we just started driving back from the smoke, I started seeing some cars, and then a lot of cars, and semi-trucks. And I realized that whole area was now shut down, and the town of Lytton was on fire, and everyone was evacuated, and everyone was coming down this highway. So when we got back on the freeway, we were in a long line of people who were effectively either fleeing Lytton or were getting routed around Lytton because this fire was huge. And over the next day, we got word that it was so big that the entire town burned down. The entire village of Lytton was effectively gone. Now, I always kind of thought that was a little bit of rhetoric, a little bit of hyperbole. I always thought it was a little bit overblown, like, come on, the whole town. But now I'm in Lytton for the first time in years. And yes, the whole town is gone. It's nothing but construction fences around empty properties all over the place. And there's a lot of indigenous folks here, a lot of First Nations people. And it just really is sad that so much death and destruction. Livelihoods were destroyed, though, all over the place. And now that I'm driving through Lytton, I can see how bad it is. As you drive down through downtown Lytton, you can just see how the entire town is literally destroyed. Like, destroyed. Nothing left. The entire patch of town is just leveled. Breaks my heart. With things heating up, it's only going to get worse. Yeah. Gotta be careful out there. Unfortunately, British Columbia, in the 10 years I've been here, has gotten smokier and more on fire. And as climate change continues to increase, there's no reason to expect anything different. So now going out into the summer in British Columbia is always a bit of a sketchy situation. There's not that many roads. You can really actually get trapped in a fire situation here. A lot more than a lot of other places. So heart goes out to people in Lytton. And I hadn't really thought about it until I started heading towards the town here today on this drive. Realizing, oh boy, that's right. 2 years ago this week. Well, as I wrap up the trailer here, it's been quite a nice little weekend. The trailer performed admirably. I didn't have any problems. A couple times the water pump pulsed. I know everyone complains about that. I don't know what it is about the mechanics of how the plumbing is set up, but occasionally it pulses, normally on the hot water. I don't care. Yeah, I just got finished up here. My neighbors just left. You know, it was a great example too. I love this about Canada, and I know you can find this in the States too. Within 20 minutes of us talking, we ended up getting kind of in a political debate, just about cancel culture, the usual stuff. Doesn't matter who was on what side. You know, we clearly disagreed, laughed about it, and then moved on, and we spent the next 2 days next to each other, cordially hanging out, being neighbors. Didn't matter. And I miss that. I miss that you can have like a clear disagreement. Like, we are on opposite sides of the political spectrum here, sir. In the RV community, it's common, not always, that folks with different walks of life, folks with different political bents, will be sitting right next to each other. Sometimes just a few feet apart. One likes to listen to rap music, one likes to listen to country, all of that. And for the most part, in the RV community, we all know we're here for one thing. We're here to recreate. We're here to have fun. We're here to camp. We're here to relax next to the water. And that's what we have in common. And it's always important that as we run across people with a lot of different differences, that we always focus on what the commonality is, which is we're all here to have a good time. And this weekend was another example where somebody who had a completely different state of mind than I did about how things need to go down in this world, didn't matter, because we're just camping. So now, yep, I am going to wrap it up here, the last couple of steps. I'm going to point out one thing that went badly. So it turns out using the tire ramp was a really bad idea. I guess it can handle the weight at the top, but if you just pause halfway up the ramp, it starts to cave in. So I ended up going with the tried and true method, some wooden blocks and an extra piece of rock to get us leveled. It worked just fine. But I think I'm going to go back to blocks, the old school method I started 20 years ago. Something just dripped on me. What was that? Yuck. All right. So I've been able to get a new replacement arm on here because you guys remember I had an accident on my big trip where I hit a tire that was in the road, or a piece of tire, and it bent my jack. So I went and replaced the metal portion, the aluminum portion you see there, the unpainted aluminum. I needed to straighten a little more metal right there. That little piece is kinked. So I want to remove this. I have a feeling the Ember folks may have welded on that hitch mount after they installed the quick drop stabilizers. So now I can't quite figure out how to get these bolts out. Fixed. Leaving the campsite, just checked it, just checked the rig. Gonna drive across this long bridge one more time. Out here on these Forest Service roads in BC, there's many of these bridges like this. They're over deep chasms, over deep canyons. Put on your seatbelt, Joe. Okay, here in BC, there are deep canyons that have these bridges over them. And these bridges are not like in your liability-prone south of the border bridges.
Better call Saul.
These bridges have like no railings, no guardrails, other than maybe like a little steel bar that's 1 foot off the ground. So when you're driving across these bridges, you just feel like you're just driving across a plank. across the river, and there's only room for one vehicle, right? So people on the other end always have to stop, and you have to take turns going back and forth. I'm not good with heights, but I'm constantly putting myself into positions where I'm challenging that. Now, part of that is my own just desire to challenge my own fears, to challenge this height problem I have, and it's very visceral. I mean, like, my legs get wobbly. I feel like I'm just gonna fall over, which is not a good feeling to feel when you're standing next to a 100-foot drop off the edge of a bridge that has no guardrails. It's just a flat piece of steel and wood going across a plank, if you will, a car-sized plank. So yeah, I walked the plank just to get some cool photos. That was quite difficult. So now I'm going to drive out. I think is about 15 to 20 kilometers of dirt road here, Nahatlatch Lake Road here that takes you out. The campsite I stayed at was really nice. It had about 8 spots. There was a lot of kayakers there, right? So I mentioned that before. I got just a little bit of footage. It was getting to know some of the people there, and they knew I was doing a YouTube channel. They sort of hinted at, and I told them I wouldn't state the name of the campsite I was at. So I'll tell you I was at the lake. I'll tell you I was at one of the early campsites you get to before you get to the provincial park. There's a handful of them, right? It's not a secret. But I won't tell you which one I was at. Come find your own spot out here. You can even find spots along the lake where you can just stop and camp. You don't need any official campsites. Again, it's like that a lot in British Columbia. Once you get outside of the main metro areas, if you see a place that you can camp and it's not private property, then camp there. It's generally the rule of thumb. There's some homeless problems. A few folks who overstay they're welcome. You drive by them occasionally and you can tell they've been there for months. It's not cool, but I get it. What else are they going to do? Here we are. I'm going to go ahead and tow over to the bridge here, get a good drone shot of the trailer crossing the bridge, just because I think it's a trip. And appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. I've still got many hours before I get home, so let's see what else we find as we go along here. Yeah, Hope, BC is an interesting place. The funny thing about Hope is if you want to leave the Vancouver metropolitan area, you have to go through one of 2 cities, or you can leave the country and go down to the United States. But if you want to stay in Canada, you want to leave Vancouver, you have 2 options pretty much. You can drive out through Whistler, which is going due north and is not leading you to a lot directly, other than Whistler itself and some smaller communities north of there. Or you go east and you head to Hope. Out of Hope, BC is 3 different highways, and you basically can choose your own venture from Hope on out. But if you're going anywhere into the interior, anywhere into the majority of British Columbia, or you want to head out to Alberta and the next provinces, you're almost certainly going to be driving through Hope to get there. Hope is also famous for where Rambo, the First Blood, was shot. So the first Rambo movie, First Blood, where he's a Vietnam vet who gets harassed by Brian Dennehy, the sheriff. And the bridge they're walking across, that's real famous in that movie. The bridge is gone, but yeah, that is still downtown Hope, the same town that was filmed in. This is hope. The Ember performed great. One thing I've noticed is since I put on the 800-pound bars, I felt a little less sway. So in other words, another aspect of having the 800-pound bars versus the 600-pound bars, which is better sized for my rig, you know, the 800-pound bars, you can feel it's even tighter with the sway control. So that's good. Given some of my past experiences, I'll take a little extra sway control. The other thing, of course, is that it's a more solid ride. So as I hit dips in the freeway and things like that, it's clearly making a difference versus the 600, where I had a lot more up and down movement when I hit bumps and go over speed bumps and go through driveways. So clearly the 800 is made for a better ride. The other interesting thing is now that I have the grease zerks in there and my suspension is really quiet, I don't hear any squeaking whatsoever anymore. I mean, zero squeaking. But now what I can hear is the hitch, you know, as it shifts around, a little bit of play there in the ball, or the scraping of the distribution bars on the friction points as I turn right and left. I can now hear that for the first time. Also, when I hit bumps with the rig, I can now hear more of the bang of the effect on the trailer, whereas all I would hear before is even louder squeaks. So I think removing the squeaks will help me better assess how the RV is doing. One thing I did lose though is I could tell when I was driving on the bumpy roads before the squeaks how bumpy the RV was getting. In other words, if it was starting to go more and more and more, I'd hear the squeaks get louder and louder and louder. So it helped me assess how much I'm bouncing the RV. Now I have to do it a little more visually, but that's okay. And as we wrap up this trip, that's sort of it. That's what I need to move between the RV and, you know, home when I'm storing it here. Dropping it off just now, about to unhook. So you got trash and laundry. You've got my drill kit and my backpack. You've got dry goods in one bag. You got cold goods in the other bag. We've got this IKEA bag with clothes, some drinking water, the drill, extra hat, a couple of jackets. That's it. So other than forgetting the barbecue at the beginning of this trip, which I really need to create a checklist, the amount of stuff I need to move getting really simplified now. I'm starting to feel like I got a pattern. You know, I can just say, you know, let's go out this weekend, and an hour or two later have everything together that I need. That's the goal, right? That's why you want your RV ready to go, and the amount of friction that it takes to basically get you into your RV with what you need to go travel, you need to minimize as much as you can. This is why the trailer is so stocked with silverware, dishes, and extra sheets and blankets, and everything's ready to go. I got extra towels in there. The only thing not in there is food, water, clothes, and some pet stuff. So I just want to say happy Canada Day, happy 4th of July, whatever you were celebrating this weekend. I hope you made the best of it. I hope you got out there and enjoyed the great outdoors, or just enjoyed an RV resort. So get out there and get busy living. See you, everybody.